Hi, this is Chris. I've been wanting to do a commonplace book. And so I've been checking out videos and I've been online to learn a little bit more about Commonplace Book and how they started. And I have here information from Wikipedia. Commonplace books, or commonplaces, are a way to compile knowledge, usually by writing information into books. Commonplace book refers to collections by an individual in one volume which have a common theme or explore several themes. They are a separate genre of writing from diaries or travelogues. They differ functionally from journals or diaries, which are chronological and introspective. They have been kept from antiquity and kept particularly during the Renaissance and in the 19th century. The books are similar to scrapbooks filled with items of many kinds: notes, proverbs, adages, aphorisms, maxims, quotes, letters, poems, tables of weights and measures, prayers, legal formulas, and recipes. Entries are most often organized under subject headings. Commonplaces are used by readers, writers, students, scholars as an aid for remembering useful concepts or facts. They became significant in early modern Europe. In 1865, English Enlightenment philosopher John Locke wrote a new method of making commonplace books, in which techniques for entering proverbs, quotations, ideas, speeches are formulated. Locke gave specific advice on how to arrange material by subject and category, using such key topics as love, politics, or religion. I'll put more information that I gathered in the description below, plus links to some videos that I think can help you understand. And some of the videos are by scholarly persons who merely write in their commonplace book their quotes and words of wisdom and things they want to remember from what they've read. And then there's also some creatives who decorate their pages. And so since I'm a creative, that's how I want to do mine. I want to read certain books and take notes and write down information and index it so I can find it again, which is the commonplace part of the book. But I also want to do some decoration. So I have a choice. Anybody who wants to do a commonplace book has lots of choices. I could make an altered book out of this. It's falling apart. I bought this, 30 years ago. I do like the old look of it. I think a commonplace book would look something like that. Or I could get a journal like this. This is a hardcover journal that I used as a travel journal on a trip years ago. I could use something as simple as a little spiral notebook. I could use one of these stapled notebooks. I use these things all the time. They're all over the house. I always jot notes and ideas down. But commonplace is a little bit different than that. I could use this composition notebook. This one is a graph. That would work out well for a creative commonplace book. I could use this copier paper and make my own book, or I could use some of this leftover from my mother's charcoal papers. There's quite a few pages in here. So since I enjoy bookbinding, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bind my own commonplace book. So I would like to use this paper. I think it's a good size for my book. The 28 pound is heavier than the regular 20 pound, so I think that'll give it a good feel. And I'll just have to figure out what I will be using when I write in the book. But I don't want blank pages in my commonplace book. I want to have pages with lines, light lines, so that I can write straight. And then I also want to be able to index. I saw one video where, actually I saw two different videos where they did a type of indexing, so that when you read a book, instead of marking up the book, although you can still mark up your book if you want to, I prefer not to, you put an index in your Commonplace book that tells what book it is, what chapter, what page, and then you write down whatever it is in that book that you want to remember. And you can either use this to go back to that book and find it, or you can just use it to remember what it was in that book that interested you. So I'm going to design myself some pages and then go from there. Okay, I'm back. After several hours, in fact it's the next day, I designed some pages for myself, and so it was a little bit tricky doing the pagination, and if you're not sure about that word, it means setting things up so that they print on both sides of the page to be where you want them. So for this it was easy because both sides of the page are the same. So I just had to paint these back to back. So this will be the bulk of my book. I have 8 signatures, 4 papers per signature, and it'll be about that thick. And then I had to come up with some pages that are a little different. So first I have a title page, a Commonplace book, and I have 2 of those, so I don't need that one. And then I have another page, a Commonplace Book of Important Ideas, hand-bound by Chris Olson, 2023. Then I have an index. This one took a few times to get that paginated correctly. And then I have some end papers. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'll start with the end paper for the back of the book. So this will go on the last signature. That gives it 5 pages, or I could take a page out. And that gives me a blank page on the inside, so on the inside back. So depending on how I want to attach the covers, this will be a nice paper to have to end the book, whether it gets glued down or whether it ends up being loose. And so for the cover, I worked for a newspaper which also included a small job print shop for nearly 30 years, and I learned a lot about pagination and putting together books and pamphlets and all those kinds of things. I also worked a lot in the advertising graphics department. So I do have some skills in those areas that I like to use in my bookbinding. My printer doesn't print edge to edge, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just leave that little white line on there. And then here's one for a fly leaf or an end paper for the front section. So this is how it'll start. A Commonplace Book. I used a background scan of some eco prints I made of maple leaves and oak leaves. And then down here, a Commonplace Book of Important Ideas, hand-bound by Chris Olson, 2023. And then it will start with the index. And so this will be a topic index. And I will just put the name of the book here. And then when I get into actually writing, copying down words of wisdom or something that I want to remember from that particular book, I'll put the book here, I'll put the chapter, and I'll put the page, and then I'll put whatever it is I want to copy down. And I can do that along here. And then I can go back to the index where I wrote down that book, and I can put what pages I have copied information from. So I hope that works. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 for the first signature. And then the rest of the book is the same as those first 2 pages where I write down the topic and then the book and chapter and page number. Now this one's a little bit thicker, so I might take 1 page out. 2, 3, 4. So I'll just take this one out. That way they're all the same thickness. And so some of the books that I want to read this year, there's this one. It's called Show Your Work, 10 Ways to Share Your Creativity and Get Discovered. And I thought this would be a handy little book to read. And so I would like to jot down some of those words of wisdom. That's by Austin Kleon, K-L-E-O-N. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. This one is called Closing the Gap, over 40 ways to get from where you are to where you want to be. So I thought I would like to study that book. So I'll put these here so you can see them. The next book I want to study is, I want to study human nature, and by that I mean the nature that we're born with. The most well-known example would be extrovert and introvert, but there's a lot more subtleties to that, and I think it helps if you are one or the other and you study about the other. You understand people in your life better. You understand your spouse, your children, your siblings, your best friends, the people that you work with. You understand them better if you know whether they're extrovert or introvert, whether they're highly sensitive. There's all kinds of things to that. And so this is by Elaine N. Aaron. I bought this secondhand on Amazon, so it has some markings in it, but not too many. So I'd like to study that. And then I have another book. It's an ebook. I actually have paperback and ebook. The paperback I lent out, but I'll probably use the ebook. And it's called The Introvert's Way. And so that's how to understand an introvert. And then I would like to go on to how to understand an extrovert. So I think the more we learn about human nature, the more we get along with each other and the more we understand each other. And that's kind of one of the things I want to do this year, is to learn more about human nature. So now we need to put my book together. So I have this book here that I made a few weeks ago, and it's French sewn. I saw this on a YouTube video. It doesn't have a cover. It's all printer paper. I really just wanted something to print out that I could use to try this French sewn method. I made another book which I gave to my neighbor. So this will be my third French sewn book. I will punch the holes and then I will start sewing it. But I will fast forward that so you don't have to sit through all these signatures. I'll probably just record the first 2 or 3 and then we'll go from there. Now I need a cover, and I have this old manila folder. Long time ago I was at a rummage sale in an industrial complex, and I purchased a whole bunch of these old manila folders, and I think this is just about the last one I have. I could use another box of those. They're from the 80s. They're not real old, but they've got a lot of markings and stuff on the inside. So I need to, and then also I might I might cover the front and back with one of these wood grain scrapbooking papers. It's a nice heavy scrapbooking paper. So this won't have a closed spine. Like this. I would like to use this fold, but since I have only one folder, I may have to cut it down. So I'm going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to cut it a 1/4 inch bigger all the way around. So it'll be a 1/4 inch wider and a 1/2 inch bigger than this 5.5 by 8.5. So I'll go to my guillotine cutter to do that. Okay, so I need to score these down the middle. I trimmed these covers. I left a little bit in here. This will become a pocket, but I won't glue that in yet. This will be my back. That's where the folder was a little bit short. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch on my chomper. And those will be my covers. Just to make sure I get this exactly where I want it. Well, my battery ran out and I didn't know it. I get so caught up in what I'm doing, I forget to pay attention to what it's recording. So I put a little slip knot down here, and I stitched up here and down here, and I'm stitching up on the next signature, and it's all the same. So as I do this, it's the same as I did here. It's just one stitch goes in and out the first signature. The second stitch comes down, catches under that stitch, catches under that stitch, and catches under that stitch. Comes out here, ties with a square knot, and then starts back up. So I've caught this stitch under here. You can see where it catches under like that. And now I'm going to go back up into the next hole. And each time I give it a snug tug. That's a good word, a snug tug. Come out here. Careful with my string so it doesn't get tangled up. And I come up through the previous stitch near the bottom hole of it. A snug tug. through the top hole. And then this time I'll go up through the thread between the cover and the last signature. And pull that tight. Then my next signature through the top hole. It's harder to go in through an out hole than it is to go in through an in hole. And now the needle goes up through the last stitch near the top hole. Got that not quite in the right place. There, and you can see how that wraps under the previous stitch. It goes in the bottom hole. So you can see how that goes under this stitch here. And because the other stitch is coming up under here and then this one's coming up under here, it's more towards the top. Give that a snug tug. Down through the next hole. Because thread is twisted, it always wants to twist back on itself. So you want to keep it loose. Stop any knots before they happen. And the more you work with it, the more twisted it becomes. A snug tug. Bring it up through the top of the lower stitch. Make sure the thread's over this time. See how it just wants to twist up. So this is, when it starts twisting like this is when I usually give it some chance to untwist. If it was shorter, I would let the needle drop and have it untwist. But right now, this helps it to untwist. Now I want to go over to this side. I'm going to sew the rest of these signatures off camera, and then I'll come back for the last signature and the cover, and we'll finish that part off. I've come to the last signature and the last front cover. So I'll take this and I'll put it between the two previous signatures. I'm going to put a link in the description below of the video that I learned this from. If you're interested in trying this, it'd probably be a good idea to learn it from somebody who knows what they're doing. as opposed to someone who's just figuring it out, like me. It looks like I'll have enough thread to do the whole book. And as long as I was careful that it didn't get over twisted, I didn't have too many problems with knots. Going to run the thread back through the cover so I can hide the end of it in the little pocket I'm making. This cover with the fold for the pocket and stitching within the fold was my own idea, as I couldn't actually figure out how the cover was attached in the original video that I watched. Alright, my book is bound. So this will come down as a pocket. We have a first flyleaf, Commonplace Book, Commonplace Book of Important Ideas. Thanks for watching, and come back next week and we'll finish up the cover, decorate it, make these into pockets, and finish up this cute little book. Bye-bye.